welcome to Burnout Culture. The industry sucks, and so do we. Sometimes it sucks extra hard, sometimes it sucks a medium amount. I'd say it sucks a decent amount this week. My name is Kazuma Hashimoto, and I am one of 3 sleepy hosts.
Hey everybody, it's GC. I'm tired.
Hi, it's Cullen. I'm in bed right now on the other side of the room.
Excellent stuff.
I'm
So
under
fucking
blankets. I'm so cozy maxing right now.
I'm literally looking at my bed, and I want to go back there so bad.
Oh, I'm gonna go to bed now.
Everyone-
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
Everyone's a tough guy until their bed starts calling to them like a siren in the ocean.
You, hear the calling.
Yeah, so a friend of mine ended up moving out of their place, and they were like, do you want, my comforter set? And I was like, sure. And it was a weighted blanket,
Oh,
and I've never experienced one of those before. And
That'll fuck you up.
I was like, oh, this is insane. But then I was sweating like crazy. And I was like, I can't use this as much as I love this weighted blanket. I can't use this. I'm already sweating like crazy because of the tea. And now it's like, I like not having to wash my hair for a day and a half. But with this, I need to wake up and immediately shower because I'm a grease ball and I'm just gross. And I feel like, the picture of the cat with milk on its face, the meme?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I fucking feel when I wake up.
For a half a second, I'm like, what kind of tea are you drinking that makes you sweat?
If you have to know, it's a matcha tea with honey. But also, I'm rubbing testosterone gel on my shoulders every day.
I would have gone for testosterone.
Okay, yeah, you're actually funny, Cullen, okay? You're the king of comedy in this podcast.
Oh, give me my gun. I'm the king of comedy.
I'm so glad you got
movie.
that reference. I'm so glad you got that reference.
All I know is that he shoots people. I
And
should
that
watch
the
that
Joker,
movie.
is basically just another version of the king of comedy.
Yeah, and then the Todd Phillips or whatever his hack name is was just like, I want to make a Joker movie. Let me look up movies to rip off.
Robert De Niro was in this movie. He's gonna be in this one. Yeah, he
Robert
was in the
wait,
king of comedy,
no.
right?
Yeah, he was the king.
Yeah, and that's why he wanted him to be in the Jonkler movie.
Well,
Was because he wanted to
sometimes
be
you
in the movie.
jonkle, sometimes you giggle. You can't win them all.
Yeah. So everyone, as you can tell, we're kind of tired and shit. For me, it's been raining in LA, and whenever it rains, I get really tired. And I was on a call with Jake today, and at one point, I literally just passed out, and he was like, "Baby, are you awake?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" And he was like, "You were asleep for 15 minutes." So, shout out to the rain and all the flooding in LA. Not the flooding.
Shout out to the
and-
Flood.
Yeah.
Iconic Halo enemy, the Flood in LA
Oh,
right now.
Okay, honestly, when I played Halo for the first time, I had no idea that the Flood was in it because I just didn't read the back of the box, and my dad had borrowed it from a friend, and he had gotten me an Xbox because he wanted me to leave my room more, so he put it in the living room. And when the Flood appeared, I was like, "Oh, this is a horror game.
Yeah.
This is really good, and this is a horror game actually." So I actually quite love Halo 1.
Halo 1's great. I fucking adore Halo 1. That was the first shooter I ever played. It was one of the first shooters I ever played. But I think around that time I was also playing Battlefront, which have very different control schemes.
Uh-huh.
And I forget my stepdad wanted to play Halo 1 with me, which is really weird because I was maybe 6 or 7. I was young. I was a young
Yeah.
little baby. But for those of you who don't have muscle memory of the controls of Halo 1 and Battlefront, I forget what button it is, but the same button in Battlefront does a little fun dodge roll, and the same button in Halo does the melee. And
So you're trying to dodge roll and you're doing your melee?
and so me and my stepdad were playing, and we were running down some hallway, and I was again a dumb kid, and I kept going, I want to dodge roll to make this faster, and I would just melee him in the back of the head and make him die, and my stepdad was fucking yelling, and he fucking rage quit. He was like, you keep fucking team killing me in campaign.
Oh my God.
I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, but I was trying to do the funny roll.
I love that you have this like quirk when you play like shooters or whatever, and it's most funny. Jake is the same way. He cannot distinguish between two different games or two different kinds of controllers. For me, when I play shooters, I will like lean to the side as though I am trying to like avoid the bullet in real
Mhm.
life. Whenever I played Valorant, I would like lean to the side as though that would stop me from getting headshot. Like in real life, like in my chair, I would like lean to the side. I remember rewatching one of my streams or even being really like aware of it back when I used to stream Valorant, and I was like, I love how I just kind of like move my head to the side as though that will actually keep me alive in this fucking game.
I do that with anytime I'm controlling a vehicle in a video game and I turn, my body lurches physically in the direction that I'm turning the vehicle if it's like a really heavy one. So whenever
It's
I play
because you
racing
drive a
games,
car.
yeah, yeah. So whenever I play racing games, I'm always like, I'm like,
I have a similar
like
thing
tilting everywhere.
when I play mech games, which, you know,
Mhm.
we only get one of those every fucking 10 years. But like, when I'm playing one of them in my little desk chair, I'll like pivot my desk chair around as if I'm like in the fucking pilot seat.
Yeah.
Wait, have you ever played
uh,
BattleTech?
No.
Oh my god, Colin, you should play BattleTech. BattleTech's
Is that
fucking
a
awesome.
new game, old game?
Actually an old series. It's a very
Mm.
old series. I think it was actually a spin-off of something else and they had to rename it. And then it became Mech Warrior, and then it went back to BattleTech because the owner of the IP for Mech Warrior, I think it's like Atari or something, and they just didn't want to make any more Mech Warrior games. People started making BattleTech games, and you
It's
basically
sick.
pilot a mech in first person.
Oh, you're
Oh.
thinking of something else then, I think. Because BattleTech, the only BattleTech game I know is the tactical turn-based game.
So they have the turn-based ones, and then they have the first-person ones. They
Uh-uh.
actually used to have pods at Dave and Buster's. I think they had like
Oh
10 of them
yeah.
set up, and then you could get in them and pilot the mechs inside the pod.
I want that.
Mm-hmm. My dad owned like all the special joysticks for it, so I would watch him play, and he would like pilot his mechs that way, and I was like, I want to do that. That seems fun. But my God, you have to like account for weight loads and everything. Like how much
Yeah.
your fucking missiles are gonna like weigh down your mech, and
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I want to have a fuck ton of missiles, and it's like I move at a glacial pace, and I'm getting fucking murdered by scouting mechs. This is insane. I hate this, but it's fun. It's super fun.
That reminds me, I gotta play Elite Dangerous now that I have my flight stick pulled out of my storage.
I heard Elite Dangerous is really good in terms of
It's
simulation.
it's really good.
I need to play Armored Core, whatever the new one was, but
Fires of
for,
Rubicon.
yeah, for some reason it didn't hit the brain as good as I wish it did. I think
Well,
I got
you've played older
filtered.
Armored Core games, right?
I've never been able to finish one.
Okay,
Those
well,
games are hard.
okay, yeah, like the thing is that the version you're gonna play now is they nerfed like the best guns to easily get through the game,
Mm.
which really, really, really fucking sucks. But I think you will enjoy it once you get past the roadblock boss.
Yeah, I just need to restart, I think, because it has the same.
Yeah.
We've had the FromSoft discussion before, where
Mhm.
like they keep fucking patching their modern games, and by the time like a year has passed or whatever, it's a completely different game than it was when it
Mhm.
came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same reason I can't fucking go back to Elden Ring. And honestly, one of the reasons why I look forward to Night Rain is that there's no fucking like commitment to your save in like the build you make that they have slowly but surely picked apart and ruined in balance patches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's true.
But enough about Elden Snore or whatever.
Yeah. So
Armored Snore.
So-
Fuck, it was right there.
yeah,
Anyway,
I mean,
what
so
y'all
yeah,
been
we've
up
been
to?
playing me. Okay, I'll go first. I'll go first because
Yeah, fucker, go
I've been-
first.
okay. Thank you. I've been doing stuff.
Mhm.
So I actually have a Blade and Soul Neo review coming out. I talked about Blade and Soul a little bit on the last episode, but now that I've played a lot more of it and gone through it again, Blade and Soul Neo is basically an Unreal Engine 5 remake of the original game Blade and Soul, which was announced in 2009 at the G-Star conference in South Korea, and it released in South Korea, I believe, in 2012, China in 2013, Japan in 2014, and then North America and Europe in 2016. And by the time it came to North America and Europe, it was a completely under-optimized piece of shit. So it was not great. But the combat's really sick. It is a skill-focused MMORPG where you don't really have like a targeting, like a tab target. You have to actually like target using the reticule on your screen. You can dodge, perfect parry, like block, all of it, right? It's actually pretty involved and super sick. The issue was that it's published by NCSoft. And most NCSoft developed or published games have significantly dropped in quality basically since WildStar shut down, because I think that was like a really expensive game for them to make.
Yep.
And a year after it released, it went free to play, which I think was a mistake. You remember that free to play scramble, right? GC, where suddenly every
Everything.
company was
Yep.
like, "Oh, if we do free to play, we'll get more players. Then they'll
Yep.
spend money on the sub." And it's like, no, they won't.
Yep. Also,
And
I
yeah.
remember it well because it ruined Star Wars: The Old Republic, because the free to play model for that is actually terrible, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even like get people to play your game. Period. So
Yeah, like I would rather pay for the sub and pay for expansions and have a complete experience
Yep.
than play a free to play, and give me like a free to play like a trial mode like World of Warcraft, right, where I can really try it out. 14 is the same thing, but we've moved past the generation of everything moving to free to play. Blade and Soul was free to play when it released. You could get founders packs. Jake actually both bought us the $300 founders pack when it came over to North America because we really enjoyed playing it on the Chinese servers. So we had like really fancy outfits and weapons and everything, because in that game you can wear whatever outfit you want, so you can be as like slutty as you want. And I just was like, I don't really want to wear clothes in this game, so I just didn't.
Mm.
The customization is kind of crazy. Like you can do foot size. Again, I talked about that last podcast, and Cullen made a joke about it for GC.
What was the joke?
I said that you could customize like the foot size, and you were like, perfect game for GC.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And a lot of it, again, is like based off of your skill as a player, but also like there's a gotcha element regarding like the rarity and strength of your weapons. It's kind of like Diablo in that way.
yeah,
So it has a lot of interesting mechanics, but again, it's an NCSoft published and developed game. And when it came over, it had really terrible voice acting and a really terrible translation.
Yep.
So Blade and Soul Neo doesn't change any of that. You're basically playing Blade and Soul as it released in like 2016. It just runs a lot smoother and doesn't make your PC sound like it's gonna fucking shoot off into the atmosphere. And like the core mechanics are the same. And I was talking to Jake about this, and I was like, this is a really great game that has really bad quality. Like it just it lacks in such like major areas that I'd be like, oh, you guys should play Blade and Soul, but because you guys actually care about story and like the quality of like translation and localization, I would never recommend this game to you, even if it's super fun and it's a game for like PvP sickos, right?
right.
And they're gonna be rolling out like updates like this spring. They're gonna add the Warlock class in, which is in classic Blade and Soul and everything. And I feel like this is NCSoft's attempt to get more people to play their games. But in typical NCSoft fashion, they also have a huge issue with bots and gold farmers and everything and gold sellers. And it's just a huge disappointment, I guess.
It's just one of those things of like, you can make a really fun game, but if you are not, especially an online MMO, if you are not supplementing that good experience with like good technical support,
Mhm.
People are gonna bounce off of it or feel really like fizzled out by it really fast, because nothing kills my mood more than trying to play an MMO and getting about 1,000 mails in the mailing system that's just gold farmers trying to get me to buy their gold.
Nothing kills my mood more than trying to play an MMO. I agree.
Yeah. Great.
Sorry, I had to contribute to MMO talk somehow. Continue.
Like you can't even talk in like the general like shout chat because it's just full of gold sellers. So
Yeah.
people just can't communicate in that channel, which really, really, really sucks because it's like, oh, I want to know if a world boss is up so I can, farm the world boss for a chance at getting an outfit, right? And it's just like I can't read chat because there are too many gold farmers like spamming that shit, or an area is too populated with bots, and it's just like a big issue. And NCSoft has continued to have this issue since like Lineage 2. I remember bots were such a big issue along with gold sellers that Game Informer actually wrote about it in their physical magazine in
Yeah.
the early 2000s.
Yeah,
So
it's such a bad problem, especially with like NCSoft games for some reason. And it's probably like a money thing, but also it's like they got to be making money on these things, right? To keep putting another one out every so often. So in my head, I'm like, do they benefit from the gold farmers in a way? I
I
can't
think so
imagine
because they've
it.
actually taken legal action against gold
Yeah.
farmers in the past. But I think it also inflates their player numbers. Like, you remember Lost Ark when it came out? It had like over 1 million people playing it. Well, a lot of that was also bots, right? They have such a big bot problem that their numbers were inflated to like 500K concurrent players, and there weren't that many people actually playing the game. Now, Throne and Liberty, which is like really surprising to me, doesn't have a huge bot problem, and they have more concurrent players on Steam right now than Final Fantasy XIV.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
And that's not counting console players either. And I was really, because I was like, I had an interview with the Throne and Liberty team as well. And I was like, how many people are playing it? But it's going to be like 10,000. I was like, why are there 50K people playing this game on stream right now? On Steam right now. I don't understand why 50K people are playing this on Steam, but I guess people like the PvP. And again, I like negged them about the translation, and they were just like, we're doing our best. And I'm like, please do better. I
Yeah.
need this to be better. I want to recommend your games to my friends.
Yeah. It's such a shame. It's such a shame that like nowadays you hear nowadays it sucks because like back in the day I used to hear the names Nexon and NCSoft, and I used to be like, hey, I like the games they make. I'll play
Mhm.
them. And now I'm just kind of like, when I see one, there's like a trepidation to doing
Mhm.
that. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to. Like, I don't know if I want to invest into this because in my head I'm like, when does the wall happen or whatever in all of their
Exactly.
games where it's like you hit something and it's like, well, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't get people's help because the communication in this game sucks, and then everything just falls apart. But that's
Mhm.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a big stinker. But you know what isn't a big stinker?
Mm.
Rogue Trader, because I can't understand it for shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I started playing Rogue Trader, and I made a Imperial Noble tactician type character. There was so much reading, and I'm so tired. I didn't even get out of the prologue yet.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I did 2 fights. I'm ready to close it. But that's because my dad like wants to run a Warhammer 40K tabletop campaign. So I'm like, oh, Rogue Trader will teach me things. And I'm like, I don't understand a single fucking thing. I don't know who the God Emperor is. I don't know who the Blood Angels are. I don't know about all of this very bizarre shit happening in this universe, but I feel like that's the general experience for Warhammer 40K until you get super into it.
Yes. So I've played quite a few Warhammer 40K games.
Do we own Space Marines too?
I don't know if I don't own it, but somebody on the Steam family. Well, if I don't own it and you don't own it, then I don't think we have it on the Steam family because Cullen
Who's
and
driving the bus.
James don't fucking. For people that don't know, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader is a CRPG set in the Warhammer 40K universe.
What's the name of the one we're not sure we own, by the way?
Space Marines 2.
Continue. I will look to see if we have it.
Okay.
No.
Okay, cool. So, except as a CRPG, it's not as, so you hear CRPG and you think, oh, it's probably using some kind of like tabletop rule set. And yes, but not exactly. It's not like D&D CRPG. It is a little bit closer to XCOM because Warhammer, the actual like war game Warhammer that you can play on a table in physical space, is a war game, and it has like rules about line of sight and stuff like that. It's actually, if you've never played a war game, like a physical one, there's like quite a few of them that are like really fun. But yeah, Rogue Trader's based on that. And like the premise, it's super easy. So like the 40K universe is basically what happens if like the human
Space
race,
fascism, right?
yeah, but like ultra super space fascism, where it's so like ingrained that it's like there's no like, even the people who are against the space fascism are like people who are like cultists and like believe in the occult or worship an actual demon, and stuff like that. Like there's no good in the universe, and the good you find in the Warhammer 40K universe is like people who find ways to like do good thing despite the fucking horrible darkness of the world. This is a universe. Warhammer 40K is a fucking universe where like people get turned into like servos, or I forget the name for them, and they're basically lobotomized servants.
Yeah, I fought some of those in the beginning, and then they like went crazy and they started murdering people, and then I had to kill them. I also know, like, okay, for those that don't know what Warhammer 40K is, just go in expecting the most fucked up shit imaginable, actually.
Yeah, everything's dire. Everything is dire. It's not a universe where like good things happen.
I will be honest, I think Berserk is more hopeful and like
yes.
Less, yeah. I have learned things about one of the groups of elves in Warhammer, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what makes Rogue Trader so cool, because I don't think we ever got to talk about Rogue Trader. What makes Rogue Trader cool is that the title of Rogue Trader, you're basically also Warhammer 40K, heavily influenced by real life. You are basically a privateer. You are a sanctioned privateer. So you can do whatever you want. You can journey to places unknown. You can sort of like skirt the rules and like avoid the rules of this heavily fascist like universe and like the people you work for, as long as you can justify that it's in service to the emperor. So
the God Emperor, who no one knows,
who may or may not be alive.
Yeah.
It's because the God Emperor is a quick crash course on that. Guy puts so much crap on himself that he wants to become immortal. So he basically integrates himself with technology, and he basically it's theorized that perhaps at this point the man has died, and what people are listening to is literally a machine that is just regurgitating a semblance of who that guy was.
The Patriots, if you played Metal Gear.
Yeah, so it's like,
okay.
So it's like it's all like that, and like this is why it's like it's really frustrating sometimes when people look at Warhammer and they're like, ah, yes, the Nazi game for Nazis who like Nazis, and it's like, yes, there's definitely part of the Warhammer audience that is like really into the fascism elements and are like, this is so cool, whoa. But for the most part, the setting is about this stuff being bad. It's just sort of like, it's not necessarily a hopeful message, because it's more just about like showing the fucked up stuff. And then the allegories, the parallels they draw are based on historical events that actually did happen, which hence back to Rogue Trader, which is you're basically a pirate that is sanctioned by the royal crown to do whatever the fuck you want. And then I'm sure later on in the game, things being what they are, you will eventually be on the run from the Empire for some reason, maybe.
I will also say this, Games Workshop has actually actively tried to like fight,
shut that down.
Like, yeah, like the like Nazis that are like into their game. They've also stuck up for a voice actress that actually came out as being transgender, who was in Rogue Trader. So I will say that the creators, who are extremely protective of their IP, have at least tried to do good regarding like what's in their game and everything. But wow, playing Warhammer 40K, I'm also like, so basically the two kinds of fantasies we've ever gotten in the West that have deeply inspired everything is literally Warhammer or Tolkien. That's literally it.
Yes.
Like everything goes back to those two things.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. Also, the more Warhammer you play, the more you look at World of Warcraft, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah. And like that's the fantasy. Yeah, that's like the fantasy Warhammer. I'm like,
well,
I
Warhammer
see.
40K is the sci-fi setting, but Warhammer
no, sorry,
is the fantasy
yeah, the
setting.
fantasy. Yeah. So, do you remember the Warhammer MMO that came out?
Yes, vaguely, but
And
yes.
and it was like pure PvP. I played that a little bit, and I was like, oh yes, fantasy. And I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, World of Warcraft was just this. Like it just filed off the. Well, yeah, StarCraft and I think Warcraft were inspired by just Warhammer and Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
How old is Warhammer?
Early 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense then.
It's very, very, very old. Because I had to look up what came first, and I was like, oh, Warhammer's old. Warhammer's inspired so
1983.
much, actually. Yeah. Unrelated GC, we're running that Warhammer campaign, and if you want to join, we actually need one more player.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I need to get my stuff sorted and like figure out what the hell I'm gonna do with my month. I know we're
Cullen,
halfway
I'd
through
ask
it,
you, but you have a girlfriend and you actually leave your house.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a hermit,
So yeah. GC and I stay inside all the time, but
I live in the fucking
yeah.
sticks. There's nothing to do out here. Go outside
Except
for
for play
what? So I can
Warhammer
wave
with
at the
me.
7-Eleven I live across the street from.
Yeah, God. But yeah, a Rogue Trader seems interesting. I'm probably gonna play it in like short bursts because there's so much reading. I would recommend this to you, Cullen, but there is literally so much reading. I feel like I am quite honestly like even I'm overwhelmed and fatigued, and
Yeah.
I love it, but
I
Yeah?
maybe one day I'll give a Warhammer thing a go. I'm already spec'd into Gundam, so I got my like space sci-fi like criticism of humanity thing. Kind of like I got my one, but like it does seem interesting. I just need to find one that,
Yeah. I would recommend Chaos Gate Demon Hunters.
Is that a Warhammer?
that?
It is a Warhammer XCOM kind of game. It is still heavily influenced by the war game rule set.
What if
Just
I don't
like
like
Rogue Trader.
XCOM?
You don't like XCOM?
Yeah.
Why not?
I just don't like the style of games. Like
See,
that kind of SRPG, I just don't fuck with.
All right. Well,
So
that's the closest
I don't know.
thing.
I mean, maybe he'd like Rogue Trader because it kind of felt like I was playing XCOM, but also not.
Yeah, like it's more RPG for sure.
Yeah.
If you don't care if it's 40K or the fantasy setting, you could also try Mordheim. That's a tactical game where it's like a roguelike tactical game where you go through a bunch of like levels to do stuff and you keep your characters, but they can get like wounded. So like you can have a guy who like loses an arm and a leg and an eye and like becomes like or gets insanity, but like you keep him on your team because his crits are so good. And then you can just watch him like hobble along in all the levels and you try to keep him for as long as you can. It's like one of those like it's like a cool like it's like influenced by like legacy board games and stuff like that.
Yeah. But there's something that we can all talk about together.
Oh yeah?
That Silent Hill F trailer came out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep,
I guess it did, huh?
Yeah.
I did not watch it. But I'll let you two take it away as far as talking about Silent Hill goes.
It's just Higurashi.
I watched the trailer. I didn't catch all of the whole like, the conference around it. I am overall like I guess the nicest way to put it would be cautiously optimistic, but it has not really like sparked anything in me. And I totally get why everyone's really excited for this game. They just haven't fully won me over yet, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I actually completely agree. I was really excited when this game was first announced. I like the atmosphere, I like the visuals, but after watching that trailer and then like sticking around for the whole conference, I was like, I actually don't know if I'm gonna like this. I hope I will, but I don't know. And that's largely because of like Ryukishi's involvement with it. Because they kept talking about Higurashi like the entire like presentation. And they were like, oh, we even have like the Higurashi composers on this. And I'm like, yeah, I want to play Silent Hill, not Higurashi, right? And
Yeah.
it's also
I-
taking place in like a rural village that he went to for inspiration. And it's a story about a young girl, more than likely stuck in a time loop. And there's like one guy there. And it's giving all of the hallmark signs of a Ryukishi like visual novel, which is okay, but I want Silent Hill. He also said some really stupid shit about like, well, sorry, stupid shit's very strong, but he was like, he basically said the summary was, women in Silent Hill don't have agency and they're not really well written, and we want to give our heroine a choice and make an interesting female protagonist. And then in the trailer, the fucking schoolgirl has the back half of the top of her school uniform ripped off.
Yeah, I'm like, also like you Silent Hill, you have like possibly one of the greatest female main characters of all time under your
In Heather?
umbrella.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you what the fuck are you talking about? I
me
didn't even
find-
catch that bit. What?
Let me find the actual quote. It's a little bit higher up, and it was,
Yeah, well,
in Silent
yeah.
Hill, up until now, many of the female characters are put through a great deal of suffering throughout their lives, which is why I thought if the game is going to have a female protagonist, then I want to be able to make her own decisions for better or for worse amidst her struggles. And everyone was like, "Oh man, this is awesome! He totally gets it, feminist king." And I'm like,
I'm
okay,
hearing the full quote on that. It's a bit like I'm not sure if it's as disparaging towards like all of the other games, because I will admit, like, you look at something like Silent Hill 2, where like I would argue that a lot of the female characters by like need of the plot don't really have agency. But like, yeah, it's just kind of like a dumb thing to say. I'll have to see like how the actual tone of the game itself handles that. But like,
you've played Higurashi, right?
I played like the first chapter.
Okay. Sorry,
I thought
go
it was-
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Like I'll have to see how much it's giving like fucking, you remember when you were talking about like Nosferatu, where it's like, oh, a man wrote this like story about women and
Yes.
doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and makes
Yeah.
this like in trying to make an uplifting story, fails in doing that miserably and makes a story where the main character doesn't have agency in a way where they can be like, oh, but that's the point. But like, at the moment, I think one of the bigger things that's hard for me to really adjust to is like, it's not really feeling like Silent Hill. And now I'm seeing a lot of people online go like, oh, well, like, I'm glad they're doing something new because everything was just trying to be Silent Hill 2. And what they really mean is they want Silent Hill 2 again. The people are saying that. And it's like, I would personally argue like fucking those original 4 games, even the ones that are not like entirely like 3 and 4, which for basically like most of those games are not even in Silent Hill. Like,
No.
they still fucking feel like Silent Hill. Like when you're Heather and you're walking through like the city she lives in the first half, that still feels Silent Hill as shit. Because I think one of the things that makes Silent Hill work so well, and by the way, audience, by the time you listen to this, I will likely have a video out on Silent Hill 1 and talking about how fucking Silent Hill 1, fucking the way it uses its like setting to like create these like play on these fears that people have living in these like urban like city like environments and uses
Like
that for the
children
horror.
in the school of kindergarten cop. Sorry.
But like I think that's one of the things I like so much about playing a Silent Hill game is this idea of like playing, like exploring this ghost town, this like modern society that is fucking empty and twisted. And it's so the fact that we're like so far away from that has me a bit worried. I think when I play this game, I will pretend it's not a Silent Hill game and I will see if I enjoy it. And I probably will, but like I was seeing like a lot of this, and I don't mean like I'm still kind of working through a lot of these feelings, so I'm not trying to like reduce this to anything, but this was reminding me a lot more of something like Fatal Frame, like
I was going to say
yes,
two.
yes. And I have seen so many people that are like, oh man, stick a camera in her hand and it's Fatal Frame. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign if you think this feels more like Fatal Frame than Silent Hill. Sorry, I'm like fucking tapping my fingers against the desk.
Yeah, and like I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's old Japanese, so therefore it is this other thing. It's just like it. And granted, I think that like what what I really want to see from this is gameplay. Like I want to see like how the game will actually progress. I want to see this girl explored this goddamn town. If I can explore this goddamn town and a lot of the game is just me rummaging around in buildings and like finding some Super X drink to give me my health back, and I can find these like notes that say like, oh, my toe fell off today and it grew back evil. Ooh. Then I'm like, okay, we're cooking with the Silent Hill oil. But like the trailer didn't really give that to me.
It's to me, it's very reminiscent of Detention and Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the first two impressions I got. I know that they're like, yeah, this game is what they said. It's like a combination between like horror and beauty, and I'm like, that's really not.
That's not kind
it.
of the that's not what Silent Hill is identified as.
Well, like, okay, so there's this like kind of idea that's like ruminating in my brain where I think there's a lot of like, there is some like beauty in the like melancholy of certain parts of Silent Hill. Like I recall like the moment at the bar in Silent Hill 2 with like the neon lights, and you're seeing this like empty building, and there's like a lot of beauty in like the way this room has been kind of like as if it's like dolled up for no one. Where it's like, it feels like.
Are you talking about the strip club?
Yeah, I guess I'm mostly like, there's a lot of like moments like that where it's like, there is like beauty in like environments where it feels like this one place has been upheld despite the entire town having gone to shit. But like,
I don't think that's what they're going for.
Well, I don't care what they're going for exactly. I'm just saying that like, there is like I can sit in a lot of like environments in those games and just kind of appreciate like just how, despite like, I'm not saying like, oh, it's so like majestic in its nature. I'm just saying like there's something strange and alluring about a lot of the like empty abandoned buildings, but also I'm a fucking freak who loves ghost towns.
Well, I think it's also like, go ahead.
So I think I just want to like I think the quote or what the beauty they're referencing here in this case is like, judging by like the images from the trailers and stuff like that, like it almost feels like it's not really talking about that. It's like,
no, I know it's not.
No, I know, but like it seems like what they're talking about is like physical beauty.
Yeah.
And
which is
and like that doesn't make sense to me. Also, just before we get too far from it, the quote about like Silent Hill, women in Silent Hill not having a lot of agency, and that being kind of like, I don't know if that was like aimed as a criticism towards the series. Sort of like,
it felt like it. This was something the series has never done before.
It's sort of confusing to me because one, Heather Mason's a fucking character in your franchise, but also, if you kind of look at a lot of the women characters in Silent Hill, their lack of agency is sort of intentional to drive home a point about the agency that women have in the real world.
Maria is the perfect example of that. Literally the perfect example. Like, she is made to exist for someone else and therefore lacks agency, and that's like a core part of her character. It's
Born from a Wish is so fucking good.
It's good. Like, Alessa also lacks agency in her life in general, and that's sort of like the catalyst for like everything that happens in Silent Hill 1 and 3. Eileen lacks agency. I would say a lot of people in Silent Hill 4 in general lack agency though, because they're more or less just like being pushed around the board, and then
Well, yeah.
Honestly, that's like
up. Yeah.
You've kind of tapped into like Silent Hill's big thing. It's just like like kind of processing the lack of agency in your life.
Yeah.
And it's why like some of those games like fuck it, like again 1, 3, and 4 I think deal with that with kind of like the main characters more than anything of just like fuck it, like yeah, that's it. So it's a very weird quote. I'm gonna have to see what they really like plan to do with it. I don't go there, like I said, but like a lot of people have said like Ryu Kishi's like modern works, especially like that modern like Higurashi anime kind of fucking is just dog water now.
There's also like they really amped up like the sexualization of minors in that as well.
Yeah. It was weird.
Like to such a staggering degree, Jake was like, this is making me ill. And like I watched Higurashi before my frontal lobe was developed. There was that one gif of like Shion or Mion stabbing herself in the head that was all over Gaia Online. It's a really famous gif because every edgy teenager would use it. Jake also watched it before his frontal lobe was developed. Revisiting it, it's kind of like this is gross in a way that feels like it's supposed to be gross for the sake of it and not for anything else.
It's a shock value thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like child abuse because it is disgusting or whatever. I'm not saying that there's CSA or anything, but like just child abuse because it is bad and fucked up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to be excited for it. Like you, Cullen, I am very cautiously optimistic, but I feel like with the way that they've shown things, I feel like Silent Hill also is a lot of the horror in the mundane, right? Like the cult lives in the city and people have more or less accepted that in Silent Hill 1 or don't even know about it, like that there is a fucking cult in their city. And Silent Hill 2, like you said, there are these areas that feel fully functional, like people could be there like right now, and that's also really deeply unsettling. Silent Hill 3, taking positive memories with places like theme parks or malls that you hang out with your friends and making them terrifying.
Scary.
Silent Hill 4, my house is fucking haunted.
I am afraid of going outside and staying inside. Everything's fucked.
Yeah, you have a good point about that though, and it's why it's going to be weird to like play this one because like I think a lot of what Silent Hill is good at is the like it uses the modern setting. I'm not even saying like specifically American, but it uses a modern setting to like instill a sense of familiarity in the player, and that's how they fucking get you. So like it's going to be interesting to see like the 1960s setting and like
in like a rural village in Japan. Like I better be fucking going through like my mom and pop shops and shit, you know, or like houses of like my friends. Like it like there needs to be something really, really mundane about it and not just like isolated village a la Fatal Frame, because that's what it feels like, right? Like you mentioned Fatal Frame 2 earlier, Cullen, where it's like the lost village covered in fog, isolated from the world once you get in because it's cursed. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, Fatal Frame really works because it's in a lot of instances, it feels like it's the fear of the unknown. Like it's that like
of the elderly.
Yeah, for real though. It's like the fear that, and honestly, that's what gets me. It is a different kind of fear, but it is effective, which is why I'm not writing this off entirely. I'm just going to compartmentalize it into something else. Yeah. And then so I don't got the like bitch in my brain that's being like, that's not Silent Hill, because I'm the bitch. I like immediately I was trying to like the first thing I thought was just like, I don't know about that. But like,
granted, we're also only acknowledging the first 4 Silent Hills. I don't like the ones after them, but I mean, they still had like horror in the mundane, right? Like small towns, and I guess a prison ? But it is pretty central that there are these very normal places existing in an abnormal space, and I hope that we'll get to see more of it other than sprawling Japanese shrine in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to say that like Silent Hill, it's not that like Silent Hill taking place in Japan is like, oh, that's not Silent Hill, but like a big part of Silent Hill's identity is very much taking like it's very much inspired by like Twin Peaks. It's very much inspired by like Western like influences.
Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten
I have to bring that
Cop.
up every single time.
And like the thing about this one that's sort of like, I don't have a horse in this race, but you know, I'm a pattern recognizing human. And when I looked at the stuff from the trailer, I was like this could still be like a good horror thing. Like it could still be effective, but I wonder if this isn't going to be inspired by the things that make Silent Hill. And like what you were saying is right, where it's like one of the things about like you were talking about, it's a fear of like the mundane, right? Really what it is like the way that I like to describe it is Silent Hill horror is the first time you're alone in your house and you're like, oh, this is really unsettling. Like it's not just like it's like this moment of like you are experiencing something through a different perspective for the first time, and that different perspective is horrifying. Where like you've never noticed how fucking creepy your house is at night, or you've never noticed how eerie a school can be when you're the only one in it.
Yeah, and honestly, like we were talking about this when the Silent Hill 2 remake came out, and it's something I've grown to appreciate a lot. And I think one of the things that's really neat about like some of the best Silent Hill games, and honestly, I'm not even entirely talking about the Team Silent ones. It's the idea of Americana looked at from another culture, and that kind of meshing of ideas. Like, because you were talking about Kaz in Silent Hill 2 remake, how like the bathrooms were very European.
Oh my God, they had the towel warming racks from Germany, and I was like, am I in my apartment right now?
And stuff like that is really cool. Like I like seeing those like takes on those ideas. And not to say like it's bad because they're not doing that, but it's like stuff like that is like things I'm gonna honestly kind of miss.
Yeah.
But again, I just want to see the thing play. Like, I want to know what kind of game we're actually getting, which I don't think we really got a lot of that, and that's fine. I'll patiently wait for whatever they actually like show the damn thing off. It's crazy how like low my bar is, but like I want to see how like the progression is. Like, if it's just the setting that's a bit weird and like out there, but like again, I still have like a town to explore. That's going to do a lot for me. Like, not to be too gameplay brained.
As long as it doesn't, I feel like as long as the town feels like a Silent Hill town, sure.
Yeah.
Like as long as it feels like people are living there right now and you're just in like a weird alternate dimension version of it. And like, you just, no one, like, you're just like really creeped out by that fact. Like that'll work, but it has to do that. It can't be what you and Kazuma were saying earlier. Like it can't be like isolated place in the middle of nowhere. It has to be like that familiar sense of like, I'm pretty sure more people are supposed to be here right now.
like a rural town is a rural town, and anyone that's lived in a rural town will know what that feels like, right? Like this being in the fuck ass middle of nowhere, I know exactly what that feels like, regardless of what country I live in, because that experience has been the same.
Or like abandoned rural town, but for some reason the same like that you keep finding like the same 5 people.
Yeah.
Like that's
like
compelling.
Towns in Oklahoma. You blink and you miss them. Literally, it's just a gas station and a couple people living there, and it's one of the scariest things to me ever because I have like fears of like failing my career and having to move to a place like that. So this should hit for me, maybe. I don't know.
The more I'm like talking, the more I'm like thinking back again on like the video that I'm making and how much I'm fucking like how much of the Silent Hill experience really is just that little kind of like pseudo linear, like open exploration kind of structure.
Yep.
Where I'm like, oh yeah. Please. Guys, like don't let him make like Higurashi so much so that it's like, I don't have a little like map to explore. oh God, don't be linear. Oh, don't be exclusively linear. Please, 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 please.
Don't do.
And that's probably like dooming a little bit.
Don't do really grotesque death animations.
Oh, then it's Dead Space.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not gonna be like Higurashi fucking what is it? Hang on, there are a couple new Higurashi. Oh, go. Higurashi Go. Ugh. Ugh.
But yeah, I'm, again, cautiously optimistic. I don't want to say anything that's like a definitive, like I'm putting my feet down and I'm not budging kind of take. It's just, I love that like Konami does this thing now where they announce a game and they show you this game that looks like it's like 90% done and they're like, we don't know when it's coming out.
I think it's going to come out really soon, and I think they're going to announce another remake really, really soon, and I have a suspicion of what it is because of the merchandise drops that were happening before Silent Hill 2 remake got announced. You know what I'm talking about, right?
If we're not allowed to say it, DM it to me really quick so I can make a reaction.
We can just say it. I don't know anything about it. This is just like an observation. Remember how they were dropping all that Silent Hill 2 merch before they announced the SH2 remake?
Oh, and then they have the Silent Hill 3 shirts that I just bought.
Yes.
That
mine just came in.
Honestly, like the shirts are fucking sick as shit.
I'm so glad I got that alert on my phone because I bought from them once. I have like the shop app and they were like, new Silent Hill 3 collaboration. I was like, oh, I need this.
I don't get the alerts, but please continue to be like, Cullen, Graveyard Good shirt. And I go, yes, I need my fucking like maximalist, minimalist, weird ass fucking shirts. They go crazy. I fucking like when those shirts got first announced. And for those of you who don't know, who are listening, like you've probably seen the Silent Hill 2 shirt where it's just like a picture of James like near his car, and it like there's text on the top and the logo at the bottom. Or no, flip those. And like people made fun of it. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's like a Zine shirt. I can't describe it any other way. It feels like
the only thing you care about is your dead wife, Silent Hill 2.
And I go like, yes. Yeah, that fucking does things in my brain. My brain chemicals go crazy.
It's like mega kitsch. Like I ordered a fucking Warcraft 3 shirt that looks like super fucking like busted and vintage, and it's like the fucking print from the Frozen Throne on it with Arthas, and I was like, I just want this because it's fucking ugly and I need it.
You remember those Yakuza Kiwami shirts they put out like last year where like Akiyama's head was like fucking taking up the whole frame, and it was like very like they're very weird ass shirts.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't like I'm not as like into Yakuza, but like that was the kind of the equivalent of that, but like for Silent Hill for this.
At least they weren't stealing people's fucking screenshots they used for guides like they did with the Yakuza collection.
That's when I say awesome, I mean it in the bad way, but that's awesome.
Someone was like, dude, they literally stole this from your guide. And the guy was like, what the fuck?
Take your own.
Yeah.
I will say
you're an
though,
official collaboration. Ask for assets, you freak.
So I've had to get some Silent Hill 2 remake footage for my current video. And like I got to boot it up. Now I have like, my new fancy PC, and the game basically runs perfectly. And I'm like, I'm playing this game again, and I'm like, ooh, I love being in this town. I love scrounging in my dirty houses.
We're bringing back Homework. We should each play a Silent Hill game.
I've already been playing them.
GC, you have to.
Oh yeah, let's just make GC play them.
Yeah. GC, we'll be there with you.
No, I won't. I think you should play it in a dark room by yourself.
I think you should do Silent Hill 4.
Oh, that'd fuck him up. That's not nice.
No. I think it would be good for him.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's very mean, because I think that one would fuck him up the most, especially because he was just like, I'm really scared when I'm in my house. Ooh.
Okay, so GC's assigned homework. Well, actually, all of our homework is Silent Hill, and I will personally guide GC through Silent Hill 4.
My homework would then be finishing my Silent Hill 1 video, because I'll be honest, I'm gonna need like a little bit before I want to play a Silent Hill game again, because I've been looking at like Humbert's like fat ass run around the town of Silent Hill 1 for like a billion hours.
See, that's fine though, because it motivates you to really finish your video, and then it motivates both of us to watch GC be scared.
Oh ho ho.
I'm gonna link you the thing you need, GC.
But I will say,
I like how he's just silent. He's just fucking silent now.
If just like the act of playing Silent Hill 2 remake was anything to go by, I want to wander around that mall from the first ass game in mega quadruple 4K. That sounds like it's gonna be fun as shit. Fucking Silent Hill 3 has like the best locales of that entire franchise.
Yeah.
The places you go to in that game, the mall, the fucking sewers, the train station, those like weird apartments. It's just like back to back to back fucking bangers. I don't know. Like, you know what? Like, regardless of fucking whatever Silent Hill F is gonna be, it is kind of nice that Konami is funding these like pretty good looking like fucking horror games. Like, I'm glad it's not literally just Capcom.
Capcom, who I don't know. I love you, Capcom, but like,
yeah. You know, I'm gonna be interested in whatever Resident Evil game they make next, whatever that's gonna be. But yeah, they should get off their ass and stop like delaying that new Ace Attorney game that they're definitely making. They should do that. I want to see RE Engine Ace Attorney. Fuck it, whatever.
Oh yeah, did you see that the UK is getting a limited run Silent Hill F steelbook?
How do they have a steelbook for a game without a release date?
Means it's coming soon.
I guess so. I will say, because seeing that steelbook, there was one shot in that trailer in particular that actually was like really cool, and it's that last one when like her face peels off. Like, I gotta say, and I keep apparently gotta saying because I'm saying I gotta say a lot. Watching the trailer, game looks gorgeous. Like, I'm actually really impressed, like visually, on what like they're doing with that thing. I hope it runs and looks like good. Higurashi fans, congratulations! You got a AAA Higurashi remake. Like, fucking y'all are winning.
I just hope it doesn't have to do with like, oh my god, I just didn't like what they did with like the time loop shit and Higurashi at some point and the demon, and I just, you know.
Yeah.
I
hope you're able to get a gun.
That would be in Japan. That'd be really fucking funny, actually.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the 60s. What did they have back then? Blunderbusses? How did that work? I don't know.
A pipe that shoots other pipes.
Yeah, fucking something. Or like, that's another thing where it's like you're setting. I feel like almost like it's going to be interesting to see how the setting restricts the gameplay of a Silent Hill game in a way. Because if you're running around this whole game with just a pipe, that's going to be a little lame. Like, I know there's a certain section of Silent Hill fan listening to this and be like, oh, it's not all about the gameplay, is it? And I'm just like, I don't know. Silent Hill has good gameplay. they're fun games to play as well. For me, a Silent Hill game is the whole package. I want to wander around a town and I want to pick up items and I want to have a like quadrillion bullets in my inventory. And then when a big scary monster runs up at me, I say, excuse me, sir, I have to go into my menu and I have to equip my sniper rifle and I have to load in all my bullets and you can't touch me because I'm in my menu and then I have to shoot you with my rifle and win.
I hope we get the fucking magical girl weapon again.
Yeah, fucking, I hope the game's not too afraid to be weird. Give me a UFO ending. Like, that's how I know y'all will get it.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, like, The Silent Hill 2 remake UFO ending, having original James show back up. It's stuff like that where it's like, okay, Bloober Team, y'all got it. That's really good.
Polygonal guy see he coming in to fucking ruin the day.
And he's just like, hello there.
Oh god, it's so fucking funny. But yeah, that's kind of like everything that was going on with me. I mean, I rewatched Drive with Jake, and what can I say?
Such a good movie.
It's a classic.
I love Drive.
I drive.
I love Drive.
A real
I've only
human
seen
being.
Drive one time, maybe twice. I don't know. But both times I was stoned out of my mind. And it was like one of my favorite movies ever. I keep trying to get my girlfriend to watch it with me, but she's just like, I don't know. The Drive guys, they're so annoying. And I'm like, I know, but you gotta see Drive. He drives.
Good.
It was like, is
Yeah.
that literally all that happens? Is that he drives? And I'm like, I know, yes, but like, he drives.
You don't understand the way he drives.
It's just
why
like, you
he
don't
drives.
understand the real human being.
Exactly. Man.
My favorite line in that movie, and it lives in my head rent free, is shh, it's fine. Look, there's no pain. It's over. And I'm like,
oh
"Ah!"
my god.
The fucking
It's fine.
elevator
It's fine. Look,
scene.
there's no pain. The elevator scene is chilling and very good.
I like. It's
I love the one in the
so,
strip
like,
club.
the elevator scene is Drive. That is like that fucking
Moment.
movie in microcosm. That like the way it like starts with like, you know, beauty and like this really touching moment and then fucking violence. And it's just like, whoa, where am I? I'm scared. It's just like,
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Speaking of, well, okay, my original segue was Konami, and now I'm saying violence, but I think it could still work.
Suikoden.
Suikoden. Sucky Odin.
Suikoden.
I got the remaster of that. I've been playing it. Y'all ever play Suikoden?
I played a very little amount of it on my PSP.
It's fine. I don't remember it. It's like a game that I played that everyone was like, you need to play this. And I played it. And then I was like, I have no memory of this place. I know it's based off of like a Chinese novel, like Water Margin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
I'm not too familiar of that. And to be fair, I'm a bit of a Suikoden poser. Definitely one of those guys who it's like Suikoden 2 fan is excited to play it for the first time. But so the remaster just dropped. It is a like touch up, quality of life improvement, script like editing pass of like Suikoden 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very tempted to just jump to 2 because not only is that the one I played like actually played a bit of back in the day, but you know, that's Suikoden 2 is of those two things, that's the classic right there. But I was like, I want to actually play Suikoden 1, and it is very much like the first game. It's got some of the most first game syndrome I have ever seen of a game of that era, where it's like, it's just building blocks right now. And it's fun. It's you basically go around the world and collect people to invite to your commune like Pokemon.
Yeah.
You go out and you catch people.
And they can be part of your RPG party if you want them to.
Yeah. So you're like, you have this base and you just roam the world. And you walk up to someone's like, do you want to join my commune? And they go, I cook. Sure. And then they cook meals for you.
But they
Or,
also
like,
have like their own storylines, right?
Some.
I think in
Some-
Suikoden 2 there's more of that, but yeah.
Yeah, in 1, it's very much like you walk into a town, you like check out all the buildings, you find a guy in the inn who's just like, the government won't let me build my elevators. And you're like, you want to join my revolution? He's like, if I can build elevators, yes. And then like, you go back home and it's like, hey, I built an elevator. I live here now. And you're like, cool, man.
Yeah, dope.
Dope.
Keep building those elevators, dog.
You know, he's like, no, I built my elevator.
I got my release.
It's like, I got it out of my system. Can I still like, you know, can y'all still feed me? It's like, fine. But like, there's 108
yes.
recruitable characters throughout the game. So it's it's a lot of fun in the way in which it is so kind of like, because it's the first one, they don't have a lot of the balancing down. So there's a lot of kind of just like figure it out to it that I think is really very charming in a way where, you know, you have to figure out like your own party. You gotta get all your gear for everyone you want in. You have to balance your budget, like budgeting for equipment. You have to maintain your equipment, which is very neat. Like it's a very old archaic equipment system where like everyone has a set amount of like things they can actually hold on their person. And there's not like a bag or anything. You actually like if everyone has like their hands full and you find a new thing that looks really cool, the game will literally go like discard like one of your items. And in that list of things for each person is their own gear. So like I saw in a lot of reviews, people were like, oh, they should have updated the equipment system because it's so archaic. And my brain goes, oh, friction.
Yeah.
Ugh,
like that's part of the
friction.
That's part of the experience of playing Suikoden is you gain like it's give and take, risk reward, pros and cons.
Yeah, it's nothing like mind blowing. Nothing about Suikoden 1 is like breaking new ground, but like for the foundations of this little like
it's
series,
novel.
It's very neat.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Suikoden 1 is a very neat game. It's like, you know, it's definitely made for kids. It's doing all these little like, you know, kid versions of all these like very mature themes while not being too like kiddish. It's a very simple like revolution tale that you're kind of running through on this one, but it's actually pretty satisfying. There's a lot of the depth really is in the like the gear, which I'm finding very surprising. Like keeping my equipment fresh, making sure like I move my things around to the people who might need them. There definitely could have been some.
It's almost
maybe
like you have a coalition that you have to be in charge of.
Yeah, you feel like a manager. It's very cool. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, because I was like bummed at first. I was like, oh, I just want to play Suikoden 1, but like fine. And now I'm actually like, okay, I have these people, and I need to make sure everyone, like, I have to always keep my eye out on their gear to make sure everyone's good. You got to make sure everyone's levels are very consistently like raising. You have to make sure everyone has like the right equipment. Like equipment is they make it so it's like everyone has like one weapon that you just keep upgrading that one weapon, but like shit's expensive. You also have to worry about like equipping them like magic stones or runes. You can also equip like different things on like everyone's weapon as well. So there's a lot of like small little things that it's like, if this was my first RPG, I'd be very like, I'd feel like I'd have a good amount of depth to like kind of work with in it.
Yeah, like you'd be very impressed by it, basically.
Yeah. And I am relatively impressed by it. I'm just like sitting here looking at like the little like videos I've seen of the remaster of 2 and how much nicer it looks and how much like meat is on Suikoden 2's bones and how much more interesting the story looks. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for that one. But what is kind of cool is that like in Suikoden 1, there are your little like, because there's like choices you can make that can actually like branch the story in like small little ways or decide what characters like you get. Like there are missable like party members based on your actions. So you do need to like, you know, think carefully of like what you actually do in the game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's stuff that's just like small little like resolutions to plot lines that don't really come back later, that are just like, hey, so this guy, like this Imperial guy is a fucking monster who like definitely like fucking killed a lot of people. We got to the end of his dungeon. What do we want to do with him? And it's like, execute him or let him go. And I was like, fuck it, kill him. And I just like, okay, we did it anyway.
Yep. He's gone now.
And it was like, cool. Also, what's really neat about it is that there's multiple different like gameplay styles as well. Like you have your normal combat, but also you have duels and you have war battles. Whereas like, honestly, duels and war battles are basically just rock, paper, scissors. But like in Suikoden 2, they take the war battles and make them little SRPG battles, which is very neat. I don't know. I have a lot of interest in games that are like, you know, they're old and they're made before like, you know, genres really got like defined, but it allows them to just feel like very open-ended. Like I like that the games that make you kind of like really figure them out.
They're very experimental, and because they're experimental, you're not really familiar with that kind of mechanic. And instead of like holding your hand through that mechanic, you're allowed to just sort of run into it head first and see what you can figure out of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
And,
very
like,
engaging in that way of just discovering how the game works.
I'd also say like as a remaster, it's the perfect amount of fiddling they've done with it, because I know a lot of people wanted these to be like way more fancier. Like they wanted them to be like fucking decked out on all kinds of modern quality of life. But like, honestly, like I just want to play these old games as they kind of were, mechanics and all, as they were presented. I'm playing a remaster. A lot of people seemingly wanted remakes, and it's just like, no, I want the kind of like crust. I want my old game crust here.
I think
Like if they, sorry,
I think some quality of life is usually expected for a remaster, and
yeah, for sure.
it's a perfect opportunity. A classic remaster, as you can call them, is a perfect opportunity to sort of tweak certain things that maybe when the era it came out originally, you weren't really able to do. Like the patch updates weren't a fucking thing back in the day.
I will note, they have put in a lot of bug fixes in this remaster.
Yeah, and that's sort of like what I mean. It's like I think a lot of people seem to have the impression that a remaster needs to like rework mechanics and features to be like different extensively. And certainly when remasters do that, it's not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a requirement for a remaster to do. And then in certain cases, you can argue that doing so would sort of remove something important from the game's identity, or what makes that game interesting, or what made it so popular to begin with. And yeah, it's a case by case basis thing. But yeah, I think you're spot on. I think if they had like changed too much of Suikoden 1, it would no longer be Suikoden 1.
But fucking outside of that, by the time this podcast comes out, I will have a review up for Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Nice.
Because I do not yet know what I will write about it. I cannot speak any more on it.
You're gonna have
because
the
I'm
review
writing it
done
on
by...
Sunday.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sure there are people listening to this who might want more Xenoblade X discussion, but I will probably wait until next podcast when GC has time to play Xenoblade X, and then we can talk about Xenoblade X in very big detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of NDAs, I played Doom, and that's it. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did do something between last episode and this. I actually didn't do much. I just played all of the same stuff I was already playing. I'm in a weird spot right now where I'm just kind of like jumping from game to game, but every game that I'm jumping around on is like 100-hour open world RPG. I'm playing like the Outer Worlds. I'm playing Remnant
Creed.
2, which I want to get into. I'm probably gonna pick up Death Stranding again.
We got a trailer for Death Stranding 2.
We got a trailer for Death Stranding 2.
I didn't see it. Apparently it's exciting people.
Yeah.
Apparently
like
it is a
10
Kojima
minutes
game.
Well, somebody was like complaining about like it's too long, etc. It's just like, why does he get to do this? And another person I saw cartoon was like, no, we should be happy that he has a budget and is still making weird shit. And I was like, you know what? He is the Baz Luhrmann of video games, in which I don't care for a lot of what he makes, but I'm glad he has money to make things that are not what we usually get.
Oh yeah.
So,
like
yeah.
I super agree. Like that is one of the reasons why I will still continue to show up day one for Kojima games, even if I don't like. I didn't finish Death Stranding 1. I want to. I'm gonna actually try to give it a go, because like the crazy thing is they were like, "Hey guys, we know you're you think everything's cool right now, but Death Stranding 2 in like 3 months," and we were like, "What?" It was like, "Yep." bye. So I'm gonna like try to get that done as soon as I'm like I got Xenoblade off my plate. But like no one has like no fucking weirdo like that is weirdo, you know,
affectionate,
affectionate, is like getting this kind of money to make this stuff in this industry. And it's like, fuck it. I gotta stick with my principles. Fucking, I guess I stand. More weird games, please.
Hideo Kojima is necessary and good for the industry because he very obviously strives to make things that are different and new. He has original ideas. And I think that is very important in an industry that is basically built on the regurgitation of things that have been done before. I think Hideo Kojima's like presence and his work is partly fueling actually fueling innovative concepts and ideas in the video game industry. So
he's allowed to make weird shit, so maybe other AAA developers will also get to make weird shit.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. The success of his like more quote unquote cinematic games, I think even opened the door for like the chasing of prestige experiences.
Yeah.
Like obviously Last of Us, HBO shit, they're all chasing that, but I think it goes back even further with Kojima being an inspiration to a lot of these self-described auteurs and them wanting to make movies that are video games, that are cinematic, etc. Because he really was like the first person to really begin doing that with Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid, sorry. Normal Metal Gear is I'm walking around a stage and someone is talking, yeah, literally, and there's a bomb. But yeah, I always think of Baz Luhrmann when I think of him, because do I like Moulin Rouge? No. Do I like Elvis? I love the meme where they go, he's white. But nobody's making, but there's nobody making these weird, eclectic, busy films in the way that he is, that gets that kind of money and recognition. So I'm glad he gets to make movies, even if they're not for me, in the same way that I'm like, I don't care for Kojima and his stuff has a lot of issues, but I'm glad he gets to make video games.
Yeah. It's always like, for me, it's like, even if I don't get Death Stranding, well, I feel like if I played Death Stranding, I will understand Death Stranding because Hideo Kojima's like,
these are the themes.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima is very much like, hey, slaps you in the face. Hey, this is about this. Hey, and then like he obfuscates the obviousness with like a bunch of surreal elements that make people who aren't paying attention go, I have no idea what's going on.
Actually, I'm interpreting I'm interpreting the whales as being a symbolism for the rebirth of Christ, and it's like, oh,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then but yeah, like it's always fun to dissect what Hideo Kojima is trying to talk about in his games. It's very fun to analyze.
And he's a really good game designer. Like that's the part no one talks about Kojima. Kojima makes fucking video games. Like, yeah, he does a lot of cutscenes in his games. His games are so well like designed, and they're always doing weird shit.
Well, he's like very like, I want to say stubborn, but it's not. It's not to say that he's like that. That's a negative thing. He's very insistent. No, he's very insistent on the fact that he makes video games. Yeah. So like as cinematic and as like movie like as all his stuff gets, he very very adamantly is like, I do not make movies. I make video games. I make video games. We do a video game. And like maybe some of the people inspired by him should focus more on that. But Death Stranding 2 looks cool. Love Hideo Kojima trying to sneakily put in, or not so sneakily throw in, all of his Metal Gear Solid characters into his new series.
I'm so excited for like not Snake.
Legally distinct Solid Snake.
So what I hope is that this character shows up in his stealth game.
Yeah.
Like I actually want this to be connected. I want like his new tactical stealth action game or whatever that is not Metal Gear to have this man in it who is clearly Solid Snake.
Then he's got like the red guy who's very clearly supposed to be like an offshoot of Raiden.
Oh no, I think he's supposed to be who the fuck is the ninja? Gray Fox. Gray Fox. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Gray Fox.
So like, it's cool stuff. But yeah, I've been jumping around a bunch of stuff, and then I went back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh,
I'm really glad that I gave space.
Yeah, I'm glad you haven't gotten to the point where they start gating you out of your hidden blade, no longer doing one-hit kills.
I'm already hitting that point, but I'm like, I have found ways to get around it. So, I talked about Origins on the podcast, I'm pretty sure, back when I played it, and Origins is sort of like a middle of the road kind of. Assassin's Creed is really good when it's one of two things: when it's very hard or stupid easy. So you have your stupid easy games like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where Ezio is so powerful in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and the things you can do in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is so like ridiculous that it's like the game is very easy, but also, god damn, does it feel good? Oh my god, does it feel good? But then you have games like, let me see, what's like a good one? It's like a good hard Assassin's Creed experience. I don't know, like maybe
Unity was beating my ass in the beginning.
Unity is pretty tough, yeah, and that's really fun because like it really leans heavy into like the stealth aspects of Assassin's Creed. So like you have like these like two different kinds of experiences you can get out of the series, and both of them are very fun. It's always the games that are like kind of trying to like be not enough of one thing when it tries to like be balanced between like different aspects of Assassin's Creed. Like Assassin's Creed 3 is not a very good game. It's not very fun. It's very boring. It's very bland. Despite the fact that it has like a brand new mechanic in it, which is the ship fighting stuff, which is introduced in 3, right? But then by comparison, Assassin's Creed 4 really, really, really gets into the more like hardcore like ship mechanic stuff, the ship combat stuff, like even the stealth stuff in 4 has been like fine-tuned, where Kenway's like doing a lot more like low to the ground stealth stuff. And that's great. I'm really happy that Odyssey seems to understand that, where it has a lot of the RPG systems from Origins, but the abilities are way more interesting. Like you have like a ranged stealth takedown in Odyssey that you can immediately chain on unlocking it, and you unlock it super early. And like, there's a lot more mechanics at play, and you don't have to be stealthy. But if you're not stealthy, you gain like a wanted rating, like a GTA like wanted rating. And the more stuff you do, for instance, if you openly steal from people, if you openly kill people, they'll start sending bounty hunters after you. And like that makes things harder because those bounty hunters will show up at like forts that you're trying to raid and stuff. And it's like really like, it kind of changes the way you navigate those places. Then like you can also like you manage your pirate crew in this. So the ship stuff is the ship stuff is back, but you can like recruit people to your crew instead of killing them. So sometimes I'm raiding an area and there's like a legendary rank dude in this fort, right? And he has like really strong stats for being part of my crew. So instead of killing him, I just want to take him out non-lethally so that I can recruit him instead, which changes the way that I go about handling it. So like, instead of just like going around just killing everybody indiscriminately, I'm like scouting the area for people that might be useful to me. I'm looking to see like, who can I kill in one shot? Who can't I kill in one shot? Okay, if I can't kill that guy, then I'll leave him for last, or I'll wait until he's isolated so that he doesn't like pull other people into the fight. or stuff like that. And then it's like, as you were saying, at some point your hidden blade won't like kill people in one shot, but like the game has abilities that help with that. So there's an ability for critical stealth assassinations that basically doubles the value. It's an automatic crit on assassinations, which is a lot of damage, and that'll kill most bigger dudes. But in the event that even that doesn't work, there is a combat ability that applies 60% of your assassin damage to your attack. And assassin damage compared to warrior damage, which is the damage you use when you're fighting, is huge. So like warrior damage is like 560, right? Assassin damage is like 35,000. So like 60% of that is a lot. So like I've kind of like, you can kind of like build your character to circumvent the strength of enemies in a really cool way that you just couldn't do in Origins. Origins didn't have any of that. Like you had abilities, but they were all like, they all did different things, but they never like really played well together. And Odyssey kind of like adds a couple layers of RPG to it in order to make those abilities kind of matter more. And like the equipment system has like, people are going to like look at the equipment system in Odyssey and freak out because it looks like that style of RPG systems in AAA games where it's like plus 2% footsies reduction or whatever.
Yeah.
1.5. Huh? Yeah.
Oh my
You're kinda
god. Oh, gee.
Oh, fuck you.
Those are the
Anyway.
mechanics you like in games. When you play fighting games, I bet you really like the like mental strategy of playing footsies with your opponent.
One day you're going to fall into a pit of feet and you're going to be horrified and traumatized.
I'm just gonna die. I'm not gonna be like you and revel in it.
Whatever.
Just like straight up feet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's my Silent Hill.
Anyway, so
DC would look at my Silent Hill and he'd be like, fuck, I wish I was there. Why can't I get Silent Hill with toes? And I'll be scared out of my mind. Continue
Anyway.
about Assassin Toes or whatever.
So the game is, it looks like that at first
Assassin's
glance.
Feet, fuck.
Like on the surface level, it looks like, oh, you know, these are like really minute things. But then you realize that there aren't that many. And it's really like, you know, this increases your assassin damage by a certain percent, but it all stacks. So instead of just putting on whatever gear I want, I put on stuff that very easily adds up to like 40% extra assassin damage. And that's meaningful upgrades. It just doesn't look that way visually in your inventory system until you add up the numbers. So like, I'm really glad I gave this breath. I gave it room to breathe between playing Origins and Odyssey, because when I finished Origins, I immediately loaded up Odyssey and I was like, oh God, I see everything that I hated about Origins in this. And I was having like a bad time. But like, give it with the break that I gave it and coming back to it, I'm actually quite enjoying Odyssey. It is very fun to sort of, everything kind of plays well together in a way that it didn't in Origins. Origins was kind of messy. Mechanics kind of like don't work well together. And the story was like really dumb. But Odyssey so far has a much more compelling like tale. And it's going somewhere I did not expect it to go, where I thought this was going to be like Revenge Quest, and then it stops being a Revenge Quest at the end of the first chapter, and you're like, oh, this is self-discovery. Okay. And yeah, no, I'm having a good time, having a really good time. I wish my computer wouldn't sound like it was dying while I was playing it, even with VSync and the frame rate capped.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having a great time. I can't wait to play more. Hopefully I'll have good things to say about it when I'm done.
cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
We got anything else we did?
God,
Not
I don't-
really.
Hey, why don't you talk about that Gundam movie you watched?
Oh yeah, you know, I had a whole bit in mind, like if I wanted to like, you know, talk about that, where I was gonna be like, you know, recently I watched a elite upper class rake in wealth on the suffering of others. Anyway, Char's Counterattack's really fucking good.
Yeah.
But movie I have seen like 5 times continues to be very good. by the time you will have listened to this podcast, you can no longer see Char's Counterattack in theaters, but watch Char's Counterattack. Watch Gundam. Watch Gundam before you watch Char's Counterattack. Don't just go see Char's Counterattack.
Watch original Gundam.
Yeah, Gundam is good. I don't know, like, y'all know that Gundam is good? Gundam is good.
Yeah. And also painfully relevant.
Oh, God. Like, there's a part at the very beginning of Char's Counterattack where the Federation, basically, because of their incompetence, let fucking a whole, like, city get wiped off the map because they don't want to actually, like, do anything to stop it. And it's just like, yeah. I don't know. Char's Counterattack is one of my favorite movies, but it's very hard to describe it to people because, like, one of the guys I walked out of the theater with who saw it for the first time after he marathoned all of Gundam, and he's very much like a plot guy over a themes guy. Was like, it was okay. It was all right. I don't get, like, what happened off screen to make Char do all that. And I'm just like, and I'm like, you watch Double Zeta. What do you mean?
There's so much that happens to Char for him to feel the way he does.
I would say that literally anyone who saw what happened to Dublin in Double Zeta would be mad enough to do that. Like, but like, we can't. Char's Counterattack is one of those things that we're like, we can't get into that. Like, I don't have it in me to have those, like, talks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's what it is on the tin, everybody. It's there for you in front of your eyes.
Char's Counterattack is looking into the director's soul, like, laid bare. And if, like, you're on the wavelength, you go, yep, one of the best movies ever made. And if you're not, you have really terrible bad faith discourse about the movie for the rest of your days. And it's just like, I don't got it. I don't got it in me. I don't got it in me to do that. Because GC and I actually watched the movie together recently before, because I have it on my calendar, kind of like a reoccurring event every year where it's like Char's Counterattack Day, and it's the anniversary of the day in which I first watched Char's Counterattack. So I was like, at the time, it was like, I think it's February 13th. My girlfriend got really sick with a flu. So we already knew in advance we were not going to be doing anything for Valentine's Day. And she was resting that day. And I was just like, fuck it. I guess I will watch Char's Counterattack again. Like, actually be able to watch it on Char's Counterattack Day. Even though, like, the theatrical re-release was, like, a month away. And honestly, even having seen Char's Counterattack a month prior, fucking did, like, you know, there's movies where it's like you rewatch them, like, so close to, like you rewatch it after seeing it so like soon after, and you're like, oh, okay, gotta wait for the good parts. No, I'm still, like, in a trance every time I watch that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. It's one of my favorite films.
It's a good movie.
It's one of my fucking favorite films that has commentary on the nature of humanity and the terrible thing we've done to ourselves called imperialism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even, like, disparagingly sighing. I'm, like, affectionately like, yeah, this is great.
I'm a bit disparagingly sighing, but also, like, oh,
I love shouting into the
old.
abyss and hearing an echo. It's nice.
That Tomino guy's getting old, and I'm getting like scared.
I mean, he's gonna die.
Oh yeah, but it's like,
you think
it's gonna
like,
happen.
When he dies, it's gonna be bad. Like, the series is completely gonna get fucked.
Well, I think
series is already
we're a bit past that cause.
Yeah, it's too late for
Really?
Gundam. Remember?
Like,
okay, so
there is a resurgence right now of people who get it, but like we are in the post
Gundam Seed world
bastardization of Gundam.
Yeah.
Like that has happened.
We were talking about it in the Discord for the podcast. By the way, the podcast has a Discord. And like the thing about Gundam is that it's a lot like Star Trek at this point, where it's like this IP is so popular and has sort of expanded beyond the reaches of its original creators that what you have, instead of like, what is this as a whole, you sort of have eras of what that is, right? So like you have like the J.J. Abrams era of Star Trek, which is fucking terrible. Sorry. But there's also like the Rick Berman era of Star Trek. And then you have the Gene Roddenberry era of Star Trek. And then you have like stuff like Enterprise or Voyager or Deep Space Nine. Like you have like all these different series under this big IP umbrella. And like, you can no longer look at Star Trek or Gundam as like, what is this series? Like, where does it fall on like this certain thing? You can definitely be like, this is a series that is usually about these things, but like where it falls on those things sort of changes depending on who's touching it. And like everyone's got a different opinion of what it is and what it should stand for. And the hands that control the series change a lot.
Just imagine though, like GC was able to list the names of the couple people who have had Star Trek in their hands.
Uh-huh.
It's too many in Gundam.
Okay, it's DC Comics.
It is
it's
way
like comics. Yes.
too many people, and it's like I honestly I don't even like I like Gundam AUs, for example, when they're just like, I want to make my own thing, and they take the ideas of Gundam and they just do their own kind of storytelling, like Double O mentioned everybody, pop your poppers or whatever. Where it's like, this is an interpretation of those old ideas for a modern audience in a way that still gets what Gundam is ultimately about in like basically all, like most of the ways. It just has a different spin on it. But there was a bit of a shift in the 90s where Tomino very clearly burnt the fuck out after Charged Counterattack. Had to basically see a bunch of idiots take his universe and fucking piss and shit all over it. Don't watch anything in Universal Century Gundam that is not made by Tomino.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a pin in this discussion now because we have questions soon.
Yeah, let's go.
But like,
okay, yeah, let's do questions.
Let me just,
Okay.
But like, fucking,
no, Cullen, you're never allowed to continue. Keep going.
There's a thing. Like, and it's really extra fucked if you're a Western Gundam fan. A fucking mutual of mine on Blue Sky, they go by Brad at Be Invoked, had an amazing thread on it one time on Twitter talking about like the context behind the kind of the Western reception of Char's Counterattack. A lot more than just that, but that's a part that really like stood out to me as I read it. Basically saying how like, so the first Gundam we got was Wing. And then we got 0079, which was not able to actually finish its airing.
Nope.
And then we got Char's Counterattack. And then instead of actually like, so we never got to see the like evolution of ideas that started in 0079 and reached their apex in Char's Counterattack. We got something else. Half of 0079, not exactly half, but you know what I mean. And
also,
then
Gundam
we got
Wing had
the finale.
A lot of meddling. It had a lot of meddling in it because in the end they were like, we just want to sell toys, and that fucked everything up really bad from what I remember.
Ah, yes, the Gundam conundrum.
Yeah.
But so like, and then the other properties we got localized with Gundam were the fucking OVAs of Universal Century made by fucking idiots who didn't know anything about what the fuck Tomino was talking about and sanded down basically all of the like political nuance and bite of Gundam to just basically make up, say the whole thing was just bad actors and how systems are fine or how Xeon is like awesome. like it's so fucking muddled, and it's basically killed like any like discussion around Gundam, because people will be like, yo, fucking watch 08th MS Team. Oh, Unicorn's a good Gundam. Oh, it's this, that. And it's just like, oh, I'm trying not to be a bitter fucking elitist piece of shit, but I get a certain way about Gundam. I get very passionate about Gundam. But let's get into questions where I will be forced to talk about Gundam again before long.
Yeah.
All right. Oh fuck no, Gundam immediately. All right, cool. All right. So we got I think
you're starting from March 13th.
Yep. I'm just making sure that this user does not have two questions. It's just a clarification. Okay. Sonia asks, with Gundam G-Quicks, I'm not gonna I don't
it's
know
G-Quacks.
G-Quacks, yeah. And Char's Counterattack coming to theaters in the recent weeks, I've been thinking about The Red Bastard more than usual. And for those of you who don't know, that's Char Aznable. And I was curious as to what y'all's interpretation and understanding of what it meant for characters in this era of the UC to, quote, have their soul weighted down by Earth's gravity. I always thought of it as a very evocative phrase, but not one that I ever quite completely understood, and have asked a few friends / Gundam enthusiasts about their varied responses. So I was curious to what y'all's thoughts about it are. I'm going to start with Kaz to see if like you know enough about like that to weigh in. Cause I honestly like, I know you're into Wing, but I don't know how much of UC you've like really seen. If it's nothing, I can just take over.
Basically nothing. Yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
You want to move on to me real quick?
Yeah.
What's in Universal Century, by the way? Is Wing in Universal Century?
No. You see, a lot of people will tell you there are a lot of things in Universal Century, but there's actually not.
Yeah, because I figured it was like an AU.
No. Universal Century is the mainline Gundam.
Okay.
The people are gaslighting you to say that there's a billion series in it. There aren't. There's 0079. There is Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, F91, which is a movie, Victory, and Hathaway, and that is it.
Okay.
Yeah. You can look up Universal Century Tomino and get a list of works. Watch those. Sorry,
yeah, because
I'm
I was pretty sure Gundam Wing was not in that, and that's the one that I know most about, along with 00. So
I think Cullen is being facetious. I think
I am.
I think Gundam Wing is indeed in Universal Century,
no,
but
it's not.
it is.
No, it's not.
Actually?
No, it's in AC after Colony.
Yep.
Oh wow,
it is its own thing.
Yep.
Cool. So, a big part of like Gundam. Well, yeah, I would say a big part of Gundam is sort of like talking about the evolution of humanity and sort of like transcending things that transcending the concepts that rule our lives today. So having your soul weighed down by Earth's gravity is sort of a statement about, at least to me, it's sort of a statement about how like people like they're in the Gundam universe, they are on the cusp of humanity becoming something more than they are. That's like the whole metaphor for like going out into space and all this stuff. You are sort of like shedding. It's sort of like the next step in human evolution, for lack of a better way of doing it. And when your soul is weighed down by Earth's gravity, it's that we are so ruled by the things that we like. We're so sort of like caught up in all of these like squabbles. We're so caught up in all of this like shit that we should be better than. We should be beyond that. We should not be tied down to. So like strife and like war and conflict, like that's what that statement kind of sort of means, where it's like we are held back by our vices. We're held back by our petty like conflicts that rule us. And that's basically what I think it is.
Yeah. So one of I think the most fascinating things about Tomino's run of Gundam is that there are a lot of concepts and ideas that are meant to be left up to interpretation on purpose in such a way, like new types, for example. The thing about Gundam is that no one really knows what new types are. And it's in that like obscurity that a lot of the conflict comes in, because then you have all these governmental types like try to define what a new type is. And one of the things they use new types for is like those are the people like people who go out into space end up, developing more of their cognitive abilities, and they're able to become more empathetic, or and that's the thing. It's a lot of different things. Like what a new type is, everyone's trying to figure out, but the government knows they can just fucking, use them to pilot robots, because the things that make you a good new type happen to make you really good at killing people. And there is the tragedy. But so specifically the idea of tied down by Earth's gravity, and I'm not disagreeing with GC, by the way. But a lot of what Gundam is kind of getting at is metaphor, in a sense. It the idea of Earth is essentially Earth is a metaphor for the status quo in a lot of ways. And it is that rejection of being able to move on and evolve and become better than what we currently are. Because a lot of the conflict of Gundam is the space versus Earth. Space, people in space want their independence. It's what kind of gets them stuck in this loop of getting taken advantage of by fascists. But the people on Earth want to essentially rule from there and stay on this planet that is dying with these stagnant ideals, where a rigid status quo is followed at the detriment of all of humanity. So when people say weighed down by Earth's gravity, they're essentially saying the people of Earth are being complacent, and they are refusing this evolution of humanity, because literally if Earth is in a sense the status quo, or the people, the idea that we we never need to progress or move on or better humanity or anything, it's just saying that in a similar sense, the way gravity keeps us stuck to this planet is kind of what the Earth Federation does to a lot of people, where they don't want these ideas to flourish, or the general idea of fascism does not want these ideas to blossom out or move on, because in space there is no gravity. And they often compare that idea of weightlessness to to flight in a way. There's a visual metaphor in CCA of a character who passes away in 0079, where she appears as a swan, and her spirit is very free in space where there is no gravity. But every time you do go back to Earth and you see it get worse and worse and worse throughout the series, you do you get the sense that it's these people who were born and raised in space, where that's literally all they know, they look down on Earth and they see this as basically it is a representation of everything that is fucking ruining the world, not the world, but the universe.
The human civilization.
Human civilization are these fucking people with their old regressive ideals and their refusal to just try to make the world a better place, because it would be a lot better for them in particular and their bottom line and their own security if things stayed exactly as they were, despite everything clearly getting worse and worse and worse. And it's not even really a spoiler. Gundam is a tragedy. There is no happy ending for the Universal Century. It is literally you are watching the slow, stagnant, decrepit death of humanity, in which we don't really ever really see it happen, but we do not see a light at the end of the tunnel. And by the time you get to victory and you see the aftermath of Char's counterattack, which is nothing got better, everything got worse, that's it forever, nothing will ever change. That's kind of what they mean by gravity. Sorry, I yapped a lot. I'm very passionate about Gundam.
I like it.
I think that got the question. I think I answered the question.
I think so too, yeah.
I think I blacked out. I don't know. I taste blood.
Next question.
Okay. Let's see. Bram says, what makes good lore for a competitive multiplayer game setting? How much can narrative themes really do in that context of that kind of game?
So I've actually written for a competitive multiplayer shooter.
Here we go.
So I cannot say what I wrote on, but I can say that I have written on a competitive multiplayer shooter. And
A
I can
writer.
say that Valorant, for example, has a very effective narrative that it more or less weaves through cinematics, in-game voice lines, maps, and player cards that you can earn through season passes, basically. um, can you repeat the question again? Sorry, I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah, just what makes for good lore in those kind of games.
And
Like-
how much do those narrative themes like add to the context of that game?
I think it really depends on what you want to put into it, right? Like, for example, when I was designing maps, I kept the scenario in mind. And I think Valorant does the same. I'm using Valorant as an example because they were our direct competitor. And there is a map called Split, which exists because one of the characters so in Valorant, it's an alternate universe kind of thing. Like there are multiple realities that exist outside of our own. With like, for example, there's Cullen A and Cullen B, right?
Hi.
And Cullen A and Cullen B are fighting because of a finite resource that can basically stop natural disasters.
Cullen B likes Gundam Seed. We don't talk to Cullen B.
Yeah, we don't talk to Cullen B. But basically, there's a character named Chamber. He is the French guy. I have so much merch of him because I ironically liked him. Yeah, well, I ironically liked him, and now I guess I do. But leading up to the release of this character, there was a map, Split I mentioned, and basically Chamber A and Chamber B fired their rifles at each other, the bullets collided, and split the map in half between two different dimensions because of what the bullet was made out of.
That goes a bit hard.
Yeah, like it's really cool, right? Or there is also a map that's underwater because it's in Dimension B. And characters from Dimension A have infiltrated Dimension B, thinking that characters from Dimension B are trying to destroy their world. They go there and they realize a natural disaster happened in Dimension B, and this city is underwater as a result. Right? Like, it's small things like that that I think can really make characters interesting, and as a result, people get attached to them, right? So, my favorite character is Sova, and he has specific voice lines with characters, and will remark on specific things. He doesn't have, like, his own special map or anything, but, voice lines indicate that he is quite close to Brimstone, the leader of the Valorant protocol, or he doesn't like this character named Cypher, who knows everybody's identity because he's like a big info guy, but nobody knows his, right? So you get these little bits of information about each character, having that lore. The best way I can describe Valorant is that it's X-Men, but a hero shooter.
Yeah.
But I think having that lore and writing for specific things actually really help keep players engaged. Again, like when I was writing for a map, when I was writing and helping design a map, I put specific lore things in that map to reflect the post-apocalyptic state of the world, to do passive storytelling, right? And finding those little things and becoming attached to that setting, designing around those things, having level design or even character kits, which I think adds to it too. I'm gonna compare it to Resident Evil, where gameplay ties into your overall experience along with the environmental design. I don't think it's limited to that specific genre of game and can be used throughout. You get it in like Dark Souls and shit as well. People don't fucking talk in Dark Souls, right? And they still have lore, and I think shooters or those kinds of games can have that too. It just really depends on what they prioritize. But basically, like Riot, for example, has been prioritizing that because character attachment leads to fandom engagement, which leads to people buying merchandise, which leads to people buying skins and battle passes. It's all fucking, making money from the top
capitalism.
down. Yeah, but yeah, I think there is overall just a benefit to making the game more engaging. Like, I picked my characters in Valorant based on voice lines and lore. Jake did the exact same thing. Like, for example, I played Chamber once for fun. I was too good at him, and I swore him off forever because I don't want to fucking play Chamber. He's French. No offense to French people listening to this, but I got really scared almost getting an ace. Like, I think I killed like 4 players on the enemy team with his ult, and I was like, this feels too good. I can't do this. But he's a weapons dealer, and his kit is he just has more guns. That's it.
If Kazuma
right?
goes to a bakery and sees a croissant, he gets scared.
Yeah.
He's like, oh God. Oh
He breaks
God.
out into hives.
Yeah, I'm just like French people, but it's like stuff like that, right? Like I think they do a really good job of that. Chamber being a weapons dealer, his skill is gun, security camera, teleportation because he's a fucking character that does like defense and shit, and bigger gun that will one shot you if he hits you with it, right? It's just that. Or Brimstone being a former military guy, his ult is literally a fucking tactical strike, like
Yeah.
shit like that. Like I think games benefit from that. I don't know. Hopefully that answered the question as like
No,
someone that's-
I agree
Yeah.
with you. My unfortunate like thing with this is that I think it's something that like most shooters don't actually care about, and those are the
Yes.
ones that don't actually stick with people. I don't play too many of modern ones because honestly, I think the fucking live service has kind of killed this
Yeah.
turn
Yeah, they churn and burn. It's just about
Yeah.
gameplay and nothing else, and that really fucking sucks.
Whereas like fucking the biggest one I can think of is Halo used to be the biggest like popular shooter that actually tried to make like maps feel like they fed into their campaign in a lot of ways or like fit the like setting. Like fuck, Halo Reach was a big one with this where like a lot of the maps there, like because you're already playing this game with the understanding that everyone here is about to die. So like you're in a lot of like abandoned like living areas, like a city or like a little like town off into like the side of the like world that just, you know, like you can go and like see like how this used to be like a society that just kind of is in the process of fizzling out. And like that's just like it's just really cool. It makes me as a player like memorize these maps more and feel like a connection to them because the writers put in effort to flesh these places out. And like I think that's something that's been lost is like for a lot of these like modern games I would go like, oh, I don't even think that they had writers help make these maps at all. I think that they just threw some shit together and I don't feel any connection to these places. I just go, oh, that's a place.
And guess what the most popular like competitive shooter is on the planet right now? It's fucking Valorant.
Yep.
Maybe I should play Valorant.
And like as far as
it's
like
CS:GO. Go ahead.
As far as narrative themes, like doing stuff to the context of like that game, as far as like providing, you don't really. This is one of those things where it's like your perception of this isn't like conscious. It's sort of like a subconscious sort of like thing that happens where when you're listening to characters talk to each other before matches start, when you get like a good like look at the map and like you can see through visual details like why the map is the way it is, and like you start thinking about why is that like that, and like who's this character and this and that and how are these people related. It adds to the sort of like desire for you to win matches. So like we can like Marvel Rivals, despite being a game about Marvel comic book heroes, actually does a lot of what Kazuma was just talking about really well, where it's like the characters are actually referencing the situation they are in. They're talking about like the world lore and stuff like that. And every map you're told like, hey, you're going to be doing a thing for this specific character on this map. And in some maps you can actually talk to the NPC that you are assisting. And it sort of adds pressure for you to win because it's like, I want to win because I want to see what happens if I win. I don't want to lose because I don't want to know what happens if I lose. And then the other team is thinking that too. And that's sort of what lore and like storytelling and world building does for competitive multiplayer games. It gives you a sense of like what you're doing. It gives stakes. It gives stakes and it gives like a reason to care about what it is you're playing. You know, compare that to, I don't know, a Call of Duty or Gears of War, where like if you ever play the multiplayer for those, it's like they're fun, but like no one's really thinking about like, oh yeah, I gotta like stop them from taking over this like shanty town, or oh, I'm playing Rainbow Six Siege and like the hostage is an important person. No, they're not. They're just like a random hostage NPC in the game. Like, compare the hero shooter experiences that we see like Valorant and Marvel Rivals to that stuff. And like, there's a huge difference in like how invested you are in what you're actually doing. Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to see my wifey in game, and I lose my shit whenever someone locks in chamber, like, but sorry. He's so rare now because they kept nerfing him. They kept making his bullets more expensive, which I guess is a commentary, and they kept taking shit in his kit away. He was literally too strong when he released. Like, he was picked 100% of the time in like most comp matches. It was kind of fucking disgusting what you could do with him. And he's supposed to be a defensive character, and they were not playing him that way. But, sometimes inflation happens, and your golden bullets cost $1 quadrillion, and if you lose, you really can't buy bullets, which I think is something cool, right? Like, we're talking about like narrative and character building and stuff in a character's kit. And I'm going to use him as an example because he's really good. He's supposed to be very, very wealthy, and buying bullets for his kit is really expensive. So if you're losing, you can't buy shit, and you are the poorest person on your team, and you have to beg people to give you guns.
That's pretty funny.
Like, it's like, you're like, this man is rich, but he makes terrible financial decisions. So
This
it's
capitalist is dumb.
Yeah, literally. Well, he's like 25 years old or something, but like,
the Silicon Valley tech bro is dumb.
yeah, he just make big gun, but can't afford to fire it.
Gun stock plummeting.
Yeah, literally. El Mundi or whatever. But yeah, no, I think when you have that to your game, it again makes it so much more interesting. Like, obviously you guys saw that I got really passionate about Valorant, like, even though I haven't fucking played it in forever, because there is lore there and there are characters that I like, and it did have a pretty interesting story up until recently. But yeah, Colin, if you want to play Valorant, let me know. My NA account is fucked because I was playing it when I was still really good at the game, so we'll just get fucking stuck with Sweat Lords, but it'll be fine.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Next question.
Let's go to our next question,
Mhm.
which is from Java. As someone who generally isn't a fan of Tolkien-esque or D&D-esque medieval fantasy settings, what are some fantasy worlds in games or other media that you can recommend that stand apart from the rest? I am here with two massive fantasy nerds, so they will probably dominate this. Quick thing though, I think that kind of vaguely fits into this idea.
Mhm.
The Atelier Dusk games have a very fun, like, fantasy steampunk, like, combination setting where the gimmick is that the world is dying slowly across all three games, and that's like the central thing, where it's like finding beauty in this like world that you can see is like just eroding over time. But yeah, that's my recommendation. But also, I'm just like a sucker for Atelier, and as I go play Atelier games, are good.
So this person basically listed out the two pillars of Western like fantasy as we established earlier.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really hard to recommend things in terms of like what you can consume that isn't directly impacted by that. Like, I'd be like, go check out World of Warcraft, but it's Warhammer, right? It's fucking Warhammer. I would say Witch Hat Atelier is pretty good in terms of a fantasy setting. Everyone really likes it. Just go read it. You'll probably feel touched by it. I don't know. I'm also like a freak. Huh? Conan, yeah. And on that note, I'm also like, I like Berserk, but I would never recommend it to anybody, if that makes sense. So if you haven't checked it out, don't go check it out.
Billion qualifiers.
Yeah, don't check it out. I'm trying to think of like other the Elder Scrolls.
The Elder Scrolls.
The Elder Scrolls.
Have you heard of Dark Souls?
The easiest way to go about this, if you're somebody who wants to not like exclusively avoid Tolkien stuff, but like you're looking for stuff that's a little different, go look at the stuff Tolkien was inspired by. You kind of have to like engineer this for yourself, because like Tolkien had peers, and then those peers kind of like started doing what he started doing when his stuff popped off. So
Narnia.
Like, don't read Narnia.
You should read Narnia.
It's
Do
really
not
bad.
read the Chronicles of Narnia.
Crazy bad.
No, yeah, they're fucking awful. Hate
You
Christ
gotta read
Allegory Lion.
Narnia. You gotta read Narnia. They're terrible. Do it.
Look into fantasy concepts by people that you can go look at stuff that's not Western. So Tolkien was a Western guy, but you know, people had been doing fantasy in other parts of the world at the same time he was, and like you can actually just go like look at a different culture and see if there's any like standout literature that they've done. Although you're talking about games specifically, I don't know, like look for stuff inspired by like Beowulf or something. Like that's usually going to be something that'll won't be Tolkien like Nordic stuff or
Skyrim. Sorry, every time I think of Skyrim, I think of you being afraid during that Fatal Frame
Skyrim.
Yeah.
I honestly, it sounds like what you're looking for, truthfully, is steampunk.
But steampunk isn't like, I mean, I guess. I mean, go read Babel. Go read Babel. Save yourself some fucking trouble.
Steampunk's like a blend of sci-fi and fantasy.
I know,
well.
and that's why it's kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah, but if you're struggling to like find stuff that's not D&D or Tolkien, you got your work cut out for you.
Even
I would
Dungeon
look for
Meshi
something
is inspired by D&D.
Everything is.
So like I try to look for stuff that predates Tolkien or that is inspired by stuff that predates Tolkien, or look for fantasy concepts that are inspired by Tolkien but so far and away from it that it might as well not be.
Why haven't we recommended Earthsea yet?
I don't know what that is.
By Ursula. Earthsea. It's like, okay, so Ghibli made an Earthsea movie and it was really bad.
A Ghibli movie bad? I'm so shocked.
I mean, it was pretty bad that like Miyazaki. That's the one where Miyazaki walked out and was like, "My son is terrible. He fucking adapted this shit like dog." It's by Ursula K. Le Guin. And it's high fantasy basically. I can't really describe it because there's like a bunch of different books, but I would really suggest checking out Earthsea. It's very much its like own thing. And
I'm gonna be a bit slanderous real quick and be like, hey, Miyazaki, maybe your son would make better movies if you were like, you know, not a piece of shit. Anyway, I'm a fucking hater.
No, I agree.
Fucking like, for anyone out there who's like, no, Ghibli's like an auteur, like the greatest of our generation, yada yada. You watch fucking Porco Rosso and get back to me. Yeah. Like that kind of burnt any goodwill I had of that guy. Fucking I will admit I'll still like fuck with like Castle in the Sky and Castle of Cagliostro and like I have my handful of Ghibli movies I think are neat, but overall I'm just kind of like whatever.
Okay,
but that's like I'm getting off topic.
Well, just to let you know that this was considered the worst movie in Japan when it released.
Oh no, I'm sure it's bad. I'm a fucking hater.
I'm just surprised
Ursula
that
K.
I was
Le
like.
Guin also said she thought it was a disappointing and completely unfaithful to her work.
That's crazy.
But you know, I would check out Earthsea.
Yeah, but as far as games go, it's hard. Because the question was about like game worlds, like games that to play. Yeah,
they said other
hard.
media as
That's
well.
really hard.
The Elder Scrolls Skyrim Special Edition. So, Heroes of Might and Magic, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it gets weird and sci-fi a bit. Yeah, Heroes of Might and Magic.
You want to go low fantasy, I guess, because like Tolkien's kind of high fantasy.
Check out Skald. That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Skald's good. I'm looking at all the games I have installed that are like fantasy, but it's like I have like The Sims and shit installed right now, and the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition.
Basically, go look for stuff that's close to Game of Thrones. The closer you get to Game of Thrones, but like not the fantasy elements of Game of Thrones, if you know what I mean. Like the closer you get to like
shit.
Game of Thrones, but without dragons and ice people or whatever they're called, and
the White Walkers.
Yeah, the further Game of Thrones, but without the White Walkers and the dragons, and that's more what you'll probably get a kick out of. And if not, then you just might not like fantasy.
Yeah, it's okay.
Or try fantasy from different regions, right? Like
or yeah, like I was saying earlier, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe check out like I don't know, like Japanese media that is inspired by the West. Oh, Record of Lotus War. That's really
Record
good.
of Lotus War.
Record of Lotus War is really great. And they also have D-Lit and Wonderland. It has like some of the trappings of like traditional fantasy, but it was like sword RPG or whatever, not D&D.
Yeah.
I would say check it out if you're looking for something like sort of like the end of high fantasy, magic leaving the world kind of thing. I always like that because it makes me
Oh, I
sad
love
and
that.
morose.
I love that.
Yeah. But yeah,
The,
sorry we can't give you more concrete answers. Everything just kind of goes back to Tolkien or Warhammer, honestly. It's in the West,
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, okay. Next question by Snigs. Hey, Burnout Buds. I'm currently in the middle of setting up my Mister and making sure I have all the games loaded up on a micro SD card so they can be ready and waiting should I ever feel like playing them via this fancy hardware emulation. Not that I have any games in mind to play anytime soon. That made me wonder, what are some projects you've put way too much time and effort into without ever planning on doing anything with the results? Oh boy, that's a loaded question.
I work
bonus,
in
what-
game development, so
Everything.
60% of what I've made. No, when I tell you that I think maybe 2 of the games I've ever worked on might come out is like,
I believe it. Industry
yeah.
sucks and so do we.
yeah, exactly. So, you put energy into it, but you're like, well, nothing may come of this, so time to shove that into a box.
For me, I guess this is like things I've actually made and not stuff I like watched or played. I'm trying to think of like stuff I've bought being like, that would be cool to do a project on this. And then I don't do anything with it. I bought a 3DS capture card and then for all intents and purposes have never done anything of value with it.
I have done put a lot of man hours into homebrewing campaigns for Shadowrun and Pathfinder, and I've only ever run one campaign in the Shadowrun homebrew that I did. And my group disbanded after that. It was a good campaign. We're all still friends and whatever. Nothing bad happened, but like we just everybody moved away from each other. I've put like 2 months worth of studying into learning Japanese, and I haven't gone back to it since I left for MagFest.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Yep. I am a semi-trained boxer, and I probably will never actually get into boxing.
This is a sad question.
Okay, but GC, I need to explain something to the listener. GC and I both have bipolar disorder, and that will factor into our commitment to doing something.
I just have ADHD, which also factors into ever wanting to do anything.
I can play the piano, and I took piano lessons for like 3 or 4 years when I was younger, and then I just stopped and I never went back to it.
Oh yeah, I tried to learn guitar.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere.
But these are, life is full of that. Life is full of trying things, picking stuff up, putting it down. We focus so much on the things that we've invested time into and just never did anything with that we kind of forget that like we've done a lot. We've put a lot of I talk about all the shit all the projects that I've started and never finished, and I'm never going to do anything with any of this stuff that I know how to do or that I started learning how to do. But like, I've also been working on videos for like 11 years now. So, the reason I've picked up and put down so many things is because there are like a couple of things that I've taken to the extreme and actually like put in the work for and gotten results and done stuff with the results. So like, that's just life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The bonus was any Mr. compatible games should I try out? Basically anything from PS1 era down. Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Parasite Eve.
Soul Edge.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let's see.
We have one more at the bottom.
We have one more. And I've technically already answered this, but we'll hit it and we'll hit it hard. Speedwagon has asked, Burnouts, seeing as everyone is talking about the Gundam movies coming to theaters, I've been considering getting into Gundam. If I wanted to watch the one about the guy with the funny helmet, Charmander, was it? Which series / other movies would you suggest I watch first to understand what is going on and Charmeleon's counteroffer? So here's the great thing. Well, the terrible, horrible thing is that the Gundam fandom mostly has offered many terrible watching orders and has made things very confusing for newcomers. It's very easy to get into Gundam. It's super easy, especially if your end goal, or at least your short-term goal, is just Char's counterattack.
Yep.
All right, here it is. I'm going to want you to go watch Gundam 0079.
The original series.
The original series. You can do the movies, but you know, I have not seen the show, but there is a lot of value in the show because the movies are a very condensed version where it's like, I like the movies a lot, but
You can do either or.
You can. There's just a bit of extra kind of context you are missing out on, especially in the way they depict the Federation and like, you know, versus Zeon. But you know, 0079, however you want to watch it, watch it. Then I'm gonna need you to watch a little show called Space Runaway Ideon.
Okay.
You're gonna watch all of Space Runaway Ideon.
I was with you on this fucking thing about the fandom wants to make it so complicated and this and that. Here's a very go watch this unrelated piece. Well, it's not unrelated. But go watch this thing that's not part of Gundam.
Okay, no, but
just as real, bad as the fucking anime fans.
Here's the thing. I'm mostly joking. I just want to see GC get mad, and he did, so he fell into my trap. I will say a nice little pit stop that you could make from 0079 to Char's Counterattack is to watch the show that the creator of Gundam made literally after Gundam got canceled, and then in the process of that got mega popular enough so that he could make a movie finale of Space Runaway Ideon called Space Runaway Ideon Be Invoked. Now, I'm not going to say you have to watch this, so I'm going to go back to my actual recommendations, but so after 007, you should watch Space Runaway Ideon. It's fucking amazing. It's one of the most miserable things you will ever watch in your entire life, and I don't think you will feel joy the entire time you watch any of it.
Hey, how do I make the best ham sandwich? Well, first you need to eat a banana.
Okay. Well, you need to have the content. The banana will give you the right feelings and the right your taste profile.
Watch 0079. Watch Zeta. Watch Double Zeta.
You're ruining it.
Then watch Char's Counterattack.
GC, cut all this out immediately. Cut it out. You're ruining my bit. I was literally going to get to that. Shut up. Anyway, GC didn't cut that out, but you know, that's because he's a big dumb baby man, big stinky dumb baby man who's dumb and stupid and stinky baby man. Anyway, so after 0079, you're going to watch Zeta Gundam. It's 50 episodes long. There are parts that have not aged as well as you might like, but overall, I think for its era, it is a very poignant and strong message that is a very nuanced evolution of the conflict they initially set up. Then you're going to want to watch Double Zeta. Now, a lot of people will say skip Double Zeta because technically Amuro and Char are not in that show and therefore it does not matter. And also, it has a bit of a reputation because it is, for the first half of it, it is tonally completely different than everything that came before, where it's a lot wackier. But I recommend you stick with it because by the second half of Double Zeta, it is right back to your fucking misery war drama. And honestly, of that original trilogy, the stuff that gets like fucking serious with Double Zeta makes Double Zeta my favorite of that original like trilogy of shows. Double Zeta is great. Don't skip Double Zeta. Stick with it. Double Zeta sets up the fucking crucial context of why shit gets so bad in Char's Counterattack. Then you're going to watch Char's Counterattack. That is it. You got 3 shows and 1 movie if that's really all you want to get out of Gundam.
And if you like Char's Counterattack and want a bonus round, you can watch Hathaway's Flash.
And honestly, yeah. If you do like Char's Counterattack, you'll love Gundam Hathaway. Gundam Hathaway, the movie, was not directed by Tomino, but it is an adaptation of a novel written by Tomino, and it is very like faithful to his general ideas, and it is very like fucking when Hathaway came out, Gundam was in such a like rough state, and as we have this fucking godly movie that like gets that fucking idea, those ideas so well. Hathaway's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, after Char's Counterattack, from there, it's basically like you can watch Hathaway. The Hathaway film trilogy project is currently, I'd say, in development hell is probably a good way to put it.
Yes.
We have one movie out, and that came out years ago, and we have no idea when movie 2 is coming out. But if you were to watch Gundam Hathaway, you would go, I see why these movies take 1 billion years to make, because
it's
goddamn
movie.
Fucking they animate that movie like they're filming a live action drama.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They really do.
Immaculate.
Yeah.
Those fucking But anyway, your bonus round of sorts is basically everything else Tomino worked on in the Universal Century, which is not much. You have F91 if you want to see this Gundam Anniversary Project OVA series get butchered and turned into a still pretty fun movie, but very rushed and kind of
very
messy
obviously production troubles.
Yes.
Like you can just tell watching it. You're like, oh, okay. Yep. They ran out of time. And
F91
money.
Is one of those things, and I think GC and I agree on this, where it's like we can totally acknowledge the how this, like, you watch Char's Counterattack and you go, this is the movie the guy wanted to make. And you watch F91 and you go, I like this, but what the fuck happens?
F91 is one of those things of like, this isn't, the problems with this movie aren't what's on screen. The problems with this movie are what we don't get to see because of human, like the management of the project itself. It's very like, these are meta problems. These are not problems with the subtext or the text or the presentation. This is all has to do with like what happened behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a very good movie. And you're like, I can easily see the rest of this movie as it was supposed to be. To if F91 was the movie they wanted to make, it would have been incredible because what they put out was also incredible. So it's sort of like that kind of feeling of like, damn, yeah. I wonder what we could have gotten.
You just feel like you're watching an OVA at 2 times speed.
Yeah.
But you know,
and if you don't want to do any of that shit, just go watch Turn A Gundam.
Yeah. But like, I will say F91 is very good and interesting. If you don't want to watch F91, you don't have to.
Yeah, you can skip it.
But it is like a very, like, at that point, you've watched Char's Counterattack, in for a penny, in for a pound. You've watched what is essentially like 150 episodes of show. Like you're in there. What's a bit more? Also, watch Victory Gundam. I haven't done it myself. It's a bit miserable, but like it is, I think, the furthest the Universal Century has ever gone. So you basically then get to be like, oh, cool. This is what happened as a result of Char's Counterattack. Oh, no. And then, yeah, like at that point, just look up other stuff that Tomino has made if you do end up liking his style and just go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
From there, if like there are a bunch of Gundam AUs you could like, you know, you could also watch, but like if you're just trying to get mainline Gundam, just watch the stuff Tomino made, and if you're curious, go into the other stuff as if it's fan fiction. Fuck you, Unicorn.
Yeah, I don't much like Gundam Unicorn. So the demo, I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think that's a podcast.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You can find us where you can usually find us. At this point, you probably know where we are. That's going to be Blue Sky.
You're listening to this.
And Discord and Spotify. We also, again, that Discord, you can join whenever. You can come in and tell us that you disagree with our opinions. Or you could say that Cullen is a sleepy little guy who needs to take a nap. It's really
I'm actually already back in bed. I'm back in bed. Oh, it's so cozy.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Goodbye, everybody.
Have
Goodbye.
a beautiful sleep. Bye. Shumimi.